right. So first of all, let's see how many different ways we can use the algebraic interpretation of a curve. So there is one which is called polynomial form. This is polynomial form because what we're seeing here is that there are multiple terms with x in them. Each term is a nomial. So this is polynomial means there are multiple terms. So इनको हम equal to y बोल सकते हैं, which basically mean y and x are the variables and a, b and c are constants. Another way which is called completed square form. Completed square form includes one way instance of x. यहाँ पे आप देखोगे कि x is happening multiple times. With polynomial, with the completed square form, it happens only once. So you get a x minus h whole square plus k equal to y. That is what this is. Or y is equal to ax minus h whole square plus k. And each of these terms has a value. Remember, x or y ke alawa everything is a constant. The third form is called root form. The root form is like this, that a x minus alpha x minus beta. Again, alpha and beta are just different terms to represent numbers. They are constants again. First thing you have to understand, how to convert from this to this. अब उनको देख लेते हैं. जब हम इससे इस फॉर्म में आते हैं तो usually this is called factorization. And this is something that we study in maths in detail, regular maths. So middle term breaking gives us this. Factorization gives us this. How do you figure it out from the graph? Graph से इसको कैसे देखते हैं कि जो भी हमारे पास पॉइंट्स हैं, जो अल्फा है वो ये है, जो बेटा है वो ये है. ठीक है, तो आपने रूट्स को देखना है और रूट्स की वैल्यू प्लग इन कर देनी है इस स्टैंडर्ड फॉर्म में. तो अगर एक इक्वेशन की रूट्स हैं 5 and 6, सो एग्जाम में वो क्या बोलेगा, दैट एन इक्वेशन टर्न cuts the x-axis or has the roots x equal to 7 and x equal to -3. Let's suppose ये हमारे पास roots हैं. Find its equation. तो इसकी equation कैसे होगी? We'll say a की value हमारे पास नहीं है, but x minus 7 and x minus -3. It's that simple. That is what the equation is going to be. It's going to be x minus 7 and x plus 3. Okay? Easy to convert it back. अगर आप इस फॉर्म से पॉलिनोमियल फॉर्म निकालना चाहते हो, you just do FOIL. You've already talked about FOIL. FOIL is first, outer, inner, last. So first is x with x, outer is x with 3, inner is -7 with x, and last is -7 with 3. And that way you expand it and then you multiply a with all of them. That way you can convert from root form to polynomial form. Similarly, completed square form से polynomial form में जाने के लिए all we have to do is again expansion, और उसके लिए हम identities use करते हैं. तो यहाँ पर हमें identity use करना पड़ रही है जिसमें a square minus 2ab plus b square आता है, और यहाँ पे हमें FOIL use करना पड़ रहा है, and that we will be able to convert. All right. This method to this method, going from polynomial form to completed square form, इसका एक proper procedure है, which is a 3-step process. So उसको कहते हैं completing the square. Completing the square में multiple steps हैं. First step is always to take a common. So I'll give you an example. Let's suppose we have the same example that we had here, that x squared plus 7x minus 11. So y is equal to x squared plus 7x minus 11. Here our a is 1. तो हमें उसको करने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. But let's suppose we had some other number like 2. Then what would I do? I will take 2 as common. Now what is taking a common? When you take any number as a common, you're basically dividing everything inside by that. So 2x squared over 2 हो जाता है, 7 over 2 हो जाता है, -11 over 2 हो जाता है. Usually what we do is we don't write this and we simply write the factors that we multiply to give us that. So हमारे पास direct answers आ जाते हैं. Okay, that's the first step. Second step. So the first step is take a common. Second step is add b over 2 squared and subtract it. ये हमारे पास b है. हम यहाँ पर ये कर क्या रहे हैं? We are basically adding a form of 0. How? Let's see. तो हमारे पास है 2x square plus 7 by 2x minus 11 by 2. So what I'm going to add is I'm going to add 7 by 2 ka half. What is that? This is b, 7 by 2. What is 7 by 2's half? It is 7 by 4. I add this, square it, and I subtract this and square it. Then you know, then what have I basically done? I have added nothing. Because 7 by 4 whole square में से उसी को minus कर देंगे तो overall 0 बन जाएगा ना. So this is all form of 0, but what it allows us to do is do completing the square. Third step is apply the identity and simplify. Remember, identity apply करनी है, simplify करना है, expansion नहीं करनी है. So when you apply the identity on this, you get 2 times x squared plus 7 by 4 whole squared. Why is that? Because this is a squared, this is 2ab, this is b squared. The rest of it simply takes care of itself. So this becomes 49 over 16 minus 11 by 2. And now we're doing the simplifying step. This 2 multiplies with this, giving us 2x squared plus 7 by 4. Sorry, not x squared, just x plus 7 by 4 whole squared. And this 2 is also multiplied with this thing. So that gives me minus 2 times. What is 49 and that? You just add it all up. So 16, 49 plus 88, whatever the answer is. तो हमारे पास finally बन जाता है 2x plus 7 by 4 whole squared minus what is 88 plus 49? 120, 137. 137 over 8. Basically, I just add it all up. और ये हमारे पास वैल्यूज आ जाती हमने completing the square कर दिया. Do you get it? अब let me tell you some shortcut to doing the same process. अगर हमारे पास ये चीज given है तो पहले हम देखते हैं vertex क्या होता है. Vertex is the turning point, right? Turning point पे x की value is always minus b over 2a. Make sure you remember this. Minus b over 2a. तो अगर मुझे डायरेक्ट इस क्वेश्चन को मुझे डायरेक्टली y इज इक्वल टू 2x स्क्वायर प्लस 7x माइनस 11 को करना है कन्वर्ट, तो व्हाट आई विल डू इज if I want to do it directly, then I will say okay, first I'll find my vertex. तो vertex होता है this, इसको कहते हैं h. So h कैलकुलेट करने के लिए हम कहेंगे minus b over 2a. Minus b over 2a will be minus 7 over 2 times 2, which is 4. So minus 7 by 4. ये मेरे पास h आ गया. Now I'll try to find k. K will be, इसको हम कहते हैं f of h. In other words, this is where x has a value of minus 7 by 4. So I'll just plug that into the equation. So I'll get 2 times minus 7 by 4 whole squared plus 7 into minus 7 by 4 minus 11. When you simplify this, you will end up with minus 137 by 8. So you plug it into the equation. A x minus h whole square plus k. You know a is 2 from here. X minus h is 7 by 4, so minus 7 by 4 plus k minus 137 by 8. And that way we don't have to do the process of completing the square. We have directly done it. So 2 ways of doing the same thing. One is called completing the square. The other is called HK method.
Sir, I don't understand how k equals to f of h. Oh, what is f?
Okay. Vertex पे f means function, right? So this whole thing, y, can actually be called f of x. And you just plug in the value of h. What is h? H is vertex. Vertex पे x की value होती है h और y की value होती है k. So basically, vertex पे y की value क्या होगी? जो भी उसके पास वहां पर x की value होगी, जो कि h होती है. Okay, let's look at the graph then. This turning point, this one, the x value is h and the y value is k. And h is always minus b over 2a, and y at that point, जब x की वैल्यू माइनस बी ओवर टू ए है, जब x की वैल्यू एच है, वहां पर y की जो वैल्यू होगी उसको हम f ऑफ h कह सकते हैं, विच बेसिकली मीन्स कि जस्ट प्लग इन x की जगह पर जो भी आपके पास h की वैल्यू है, एंड दैट विल गिव यू द टर्निंग पॉइंट, जिसको हम वर्टेक्स कहते हैं, जिसको हम स्टेशनरी पॉइंट कहते हैं. डज दैट मेक सेंस?
Yes, sir.
One more thing, if the exam specifies that you have to do completing the square, then you will use this approach. You will take a common, then you will do b by 2, basically add form of 0, b by 2 का square करेंगे और उससे add कर देंगे और उसी को subtract कर देंगे, and that way you will then apply identity and simplify. 3 steps, simple steps, and that basically gives you whatever the answer is. Make sure your algebra does not waver, you don't make silly mistakes here, so double check, be patient, लेकिन उसको ठीक करें. Usually ये 3 या 4 marks का आता है. Okay, if you want to do it directly or you want a direct approach, you can use the HK method. Find H, which is the turning point, and then do it. Okay, great. So we have found the completing the square method. So we have learned how to convert from polynomial form to completed square form, and that is using the completing the square method. Great. So now we know how to convert any one form to any other form. लेकिन हमें इन forms का फायदा क्या है? Why do we need multiple forms? So completed square form, that gives us the vertex. So this one is useful for vertex. This one is useful for roots. And what is the significance of this? This one is useful for intercept. तो हमारे पास ग्राफ बनने में 4 मेन वैल्यूज हैं. There is the intercept, there is the vertex, there are the roots, and fourthly, we have the shape. Shape comes from A. So how do you figure out the shape? Shape दो तरह की होती है. Shape can be U or shape can be N. U or N. U is when A is positive and N when A is negative. So N for negative. Okay. So that is how you figure out the shape. So now we have found vertex. Now we have found shape. How do you find roots? For roots, you have to put y equal to 0. So roots में दो चीजें हैं. One is the value of roots and one is nature of roots. So value of roots is easy. You figure out what the x value is at y equals to 0. Okay, so you take any equation that you have. I'll take this same example, that y is equal to 2x squared plus 7x minus 11. So y equals 2x squared plus 7x minus 11 equal to 0. Why? Because I want y to be 0 if I want to find roots. And now I can solve it using many different methods. I can do factorization, which will give me roots. I can do completing the square, which will allow me to get roots. So if I do it through this, I can still get roots here. And I'll show you how we do that. So this put equal to 0 will give me roots here. Okay. So another way that we usually do is using quadratic formula. Quadratic formula basically relies on this. Quadratic formula हमेशा क्या होता है? X equals minus b plus minus square root b square minus 4ac over 2a. Right? We will study quadratic formula in a bit. So quadratic formula हमें x की values बताता है. All right. So you just plug the values in here. You get minus 7 minus minus square root minus 7 squared minus 4 into my a is 2, c is minus 11 over 2 into 2. That gives me my value that I want. So plus and minus both, because I'm going to get two roots, algebraic fundamental rule of algebra. So 49 plus 88 over 4, and you just solve it. Do you have a calculator? Give me what the answer is. So I've gotten two answers. One is minus 7 plus square root 137 over 4, and the other is minus 7 minus square root 137 over 4, which are obviously in decimal values. So 1.176, and the other one is minus 4.676. Okay, so that's quadratic formula. And I've gotten the two roots. Now here's something that I want to show you. Pay attention, please. Let's say we look at the quadratic formula. Minus b plus and minus b square minus 4ac over 2a. Let me break it down. Let me make it minus b over 2a plus and minus b square minus 4ac over 2a. All right. Now, do you see that this is h? And let's suppose I have a number line. This is my h. Let's suppose I add 2 to it. So I'll get here, right? H plus 2. I've added 2 and gotten here. I subtract 2 from it. I'll end up here, right? I'll get h minus 2 and I'll end up here. And I can write it as h plus minus 2, right? Every quadratic equation is basically this. You take the vertex point that you have. So let's suppose you have this root. So you take the vertex point that you have, the h. You add a fixed value to get here. You subtract a fixed value to get here. In other words, h is average. And that is again another shortcut that you can use. If you know the roots, you can find h directly. Wait a minute, we have seen that before. Let's suppose I have this equation 2x minus 7 and x plus 3. And I want to find out where its turning point is. One way is I open it up, I get x squared plus 3x minus 7x minus 21. And that way I get 2x squared minus 8x minus 42. And then I'm like, okay, h is going to be minus b over 2a, which is minus 8 over 2 times 2, which is 4, right? That is one way. Another way I can do this is that I can simply take average of the roots. What are my roots? My roots are 7 and minus 3. I see it. This is 7. This is minus 3. Because remember the standard equation is x minus alpha, x minus beta. So 7 minus 3 over 2. What is that? Oh, sorry, there should be 2. So this is again 2. This is my value of h. So two ways of finding h. The vertex can either be found through completing square method, or you can say, okay, alpha plus beta over 2, the two roots over 2, which is equal to minus b over 2a. This shortcut will help you quickly draw any equations that you want. And you can put this in the exam answer if you want to find h. Unless they specify that you have to use completing the square method. And then obviously k, or the turning point, is f of h. You just plug in x equals to h and then you find answer. All right, so now we have everything we need to find out or to draw roots, vertex, intercept, factor, and a to find out the shape. Everything we need to sketch anything. All right, one last thing before we get to the graphing. Another question that they usually ask is not about value of roots, but about nature of roots. What is nature of roots? One thing that we know that there are always two roots of a quadratic equation. But these roots can be real or they can be imaginary. Remember that numbers have two main groups, real numbers and imaginary numbers. There's nothing imaginary about imaginary numbers. They do exist in nature and we do use them all the time, except they were just named that way. Okay. So roots या तो real होती हैं या imaginary होती हैं. ठीक है. Good thing is imaginary roots always occur in pairs, which means या तो दोनों ही imaginary होंगी या दोनों ही real होंगी. Okay, so that means roots can be real or imaginary. Okay, And if they're real, then they can be equal or they can be distinct. Distinct means that they have different values. Okay, for example, in the case of this 7 and 3, they were two distinct values, different values थी. लेकिन अगर हमारे पास 7 and 7 होता तो वो equal होती. Now there's a shortcut to do this as well, to find this out as well. And that is called discriminant or determinant, और उसका formula होता है b square minus 4ac. Wait a minute, isn't that from quadratic formula? It is. Notice that this is square root, and you know that square root will give us three possible answers. If b square minus 4ac is negative, then square root will give us math error if we put it in a calculator. So if it is negative, that means it is imaginary. It is math error. If it is equal to 0, then it will give us 0. And if it is a positive number, then we'll get two answers, one plus that and one minus that. So basically ये क्या कह रहा है, ये हमें कह रहा है कि रूट्स कहाँ पर होंगी और वो कैसी होंगी. तो कैसे पता चलता? I'm going to call this D, determinant. Imaginary roots में determinant is negative, so determinant is less than 0, negative, which means that you will not have to put x-intercept. Both the roots are imaginary, so वो x-intercept पे आएंगी नहीं. No x-intercept. और अगर d determinant 0 या उससे ज़्यादा है तो real होंगी वो. अब उसमें भी दो options हैं. Equal का मतलब है that they are equal to 0. The determinant is equal to 0, which means one intercept or one x-intercept. And distinct का मतलब है that this is positive greater than 0, which means two x-intercepts. Here is how the graphical approach differs from the nature of roots. Roots will always be two, but they can be either imaginary or they can be real. अगर तो वो real हैं तो वो आपको x axis पे नजर आएंगी. अगर वो real नहीं है आपको x axis पे वो नजर नहीं आएंगी. What does that imply? That implies that your graph can be of three different types. Your graph cannot touch the x-axis. Your graph can have a vertex on the x-axis, which means it will touch it and go away, and your graph will cut the x-axis at 2 points. इसका मतलब है your determinant is greater than 0 because you have two roots. And it works both ways. If you know two roots, you know determinant is greater than 0. If you know determinant is greater than 0, you know there are two distinct roots. This means the determinant is equal to 0, which means you will not have to add anything to minus b plus minus 0 हो जाएगा ना. So you won't have to add anything to it. So your x-intercept is going to be this, okay? Which means in the case of this, you will find your vertex, you will add a number and you'll subtract a number. In the case of this, you will not add or subtract anything. You'll just have to add 0. In the case of these, you do have a vertex, which is h, but that h is not going to be on the x-axis because you're adding and subtracting error, an imaginary number to it. तो उस वजह से वो x को intercept ही नहीं कर सकेगा. So graphical approach and algebraic approach both tell us what the nature of roots is going to be. Roots will always be two though. वो हमेशा दो ही रहेंगी. वो दोनों रूट्स या तो रियल हो सकती हैं या वो दोनों रूट्स इमेजिनरी हो सकती हैं. बट इफ दे आर बोथ रियल तो या तो वो दोनों एक दूसरे के इक्वल होंगी या वो दोनों डिफरेंट होंगी. और हमें ग्राफ उसको रिप्रेजेंट करने में हेल्प आउट करता है. Okay, so here's how so this is all you need to know about quadratic equations for maths. You need to know that quadratic equations come in three different forms. The forms are polynomial, completed square, and root. Each form has its own advantage when it comes to graph. Polynomial gives us the intercept, completed square gives us the vertex, Roots give us the root. And then we can use these roots to find completed square. Kaise? The average is going to be h, and you plug that value in and you'll get k. That's one value, one option. You can use minus b over 2a formula to find h directly and then plug that in to find y. Or you can use the completed square technique, the whole three-step procedure, to find out the completed square form. A will tell us the shape. And whenever you want to sketch a curve, you have to learn about four main things: shape, roots, intercept, vertex. What are they? Shapes, roots, intercept, vertex. These are the 4 points that you need to know if you want to sketch. And sketching means those are the only 4 points you need to show. Okay. Now, exam uses multiple hints to tell you about these. For example, अगर रूट्स इमेजिनरी हैं तो एग्जामिनर माइट से दे डू नॉट intersect. That's another way for the examiner to say that the roots are imaginary. Similarly, if the roots are equal, the examiner might say intersect at one point, or they can say use the word tangent. Whenever they use the word tangent, that means they are equal. The b square minus 4ac is equal to 0. And distinct may they will clearly tell you two different values or two different points or two different, they intersect at two different points or something like that. If they simply say they're real or they intersect and they don't tell you, then it is real. So they intersect or whatever, that means they're real. Now we can use the same approach for not just for x-axis, but for multiple equations. Let's suppose they say there is an equation y equals to 7x squared, and there's another equation y equals to 5x minus 4. And they say that, sorry, minus 4 plus k, let's suppose. For what value of k is the line tangent to curve? Remember, this is line and this is curve. So we are trying to find out the range of values of k, or for what values of k this will be tangent. So the key term here is this term, tangent. That means this implies that b square minus 4ac is equal to 0. But वो आएगा कहाँ से? We need an equation. So what do? We know that when they intersect or when they're tangent, तो एक line है, एक curve है. If they're tangent, तो वहां पर क्या हो रहा है? X की value और y की value same है, right? And you have just done simultaneous equation. You know that if they are the same, you can solve it simultaneously. So what you'll do is you'll be like, okay, sure, we can put 7x squared equal to 5x minus 4 plus k, because we know that this thing will give us the same point because they are tangent. So now we solve it. 7x squared minus 5x plus 4 minus k is equal to 0. And by doing it equal to 0, I have reached roots. If we did not make it 0, I will not be able to talk about roots because y 0 hoga to roots banegi. Now we know that this is tangent. So now we apply what the hint was there. So we know that this is this. So b squared is minus 5 squared minus 4 into 7 into c is this whole value, the number without the x. So we'll simply be like, okay, 4 minus k here equal to 0. So 25 minus 28 times 4 minus k equal to 0. So 25 minus 28 times 4 is 112, I think. Yeah. Plus 28k equal to 0. So 25 minus 112, that is minus 87 if I'm not wrong. Yeah, minus 87 plus 28 is equal to k. And k will turn out to be 87 over 28, whatever that value is. दैट मीन्स कि जब k की ये वैल्यू होगी उस वक्त ये लाइन और कर्व टेंजेंट हो जाएंगी। अगर इससे डिफरेंट होगी तो वो और तरह का होगा। मतलब यहीं पे वो हमसे पूछ ले कि व्हेन दे डू नॉट इंटरसेक्ट, then you will do the same thing. You know they're not intersecting. That means you get to this point, you talk about roots by putting one side equal to 0, and then you do b square minus 4ac less than 0. So this is where b square minus 4ac is less than 0 because they're not intersecting. This is where it is equal to 0 because they are intersecting but as a tangent at one point. And this is when they are intersecting at 2 points, so that b square minus 4ac is greater than 0 for these lines. So you can talk about just one curve and then its roots, or you can talk about one curve and another line, or one curve and another curve, and then simultaneously solve them to find out how many points they will intersect on. So pay attention to the way question is phrased. So right now, what we are going to do is we are going to go through some exam paper questions. We are not going to actually solve them, but we are going to analyze the way they have written them. Okay, to make sure that we understand what the examiner is talking about. Okay,
Sir, excuse me, please go back to the graph वाली चीज जो b square minus 4ac वाली.
this thing.
Yes, I just had to see the greater and छोटा side thing. Thank you.
Do you see it? Do I understand it?
Yes, you can
Okay, I
move.
know it's a lot to process considering that some of these things are not taught in classes. Like I'm sure you, like मेरा नहीं ख्याल आप लोगों को ये अल्फा प्लस बीटा डिवाइडेड बाय 2 किसी ने बताया होगा. Usually we just teachers just keep it for further maths. I don't know why. This is not that difficult. In the first question, what should the students do?
So we're supposed to change the polynomial into an equation using the completed square form.
Okay, so what should be the first step?
You take
Yeah, take 5 common.
Very good. Take 5 common. Yes, all of you gave the same answer. Very good. So we take 5 common, x squared minus 2x plus 2 by 5, right? Side note, this value minus 2, it is equal to h. Sorry, 2 times h. Okay, move on. What's the next step?
so you have to add n plus 2 over 2.
So 2 over
2
2
over
is
2x.
1. So 1 squared minus 1 squared plus 2 by 5, right? Now what's the next step? Last step.
You write x square plus x plus 1 whole square,
Minus 1 because it is negative here.
x minus 1 whole square, and
X
then
minus 1 whole
whole
squared.
square.
And then you simplify this side. So 5x minus 1 whole squared plus 5 times, what is minus 1 plus 2 by 5 minus 3 by 5. So this cancels out and you're left with 5x minus 1 whole squared minus 3. Do remember that the number in the middle is 2 times h. It can also be used as a shortcut. Okay, minus b over 2a will be h, right? So that's another way of looking at it. Okay, sketch the curve. What should the students do here? They already know the completed square form. They already have the polynomial form. So judging by this value, what can the student know from this number, 5, about the sketch? What can the student know?
Sir, it's gonna be in the shape of a U.
Very good. So the u is there because it is positive. What
Yeah.
can the student know from this? Plus 2. It is the y-intercept. Very good, Rania. So intercept or c is equal to 2. Very good. Okay. And what is h or vertex? Vertex kya hai? Remember, vertex is hk. So over here, we know that this is h and this is k. So this is 1 and k is minus 3. So this is the turning point. So how do we do it? We sketch it. We place the intercept. We place the turning point 1 minus 3. और हमें यहाँ से ये turn मिल जाएगा. We'll draw the shape. Except now we want to find roots. तो roots के लिए हम मिल्टन ब्रेकिंग कर सकते हैं, हम क्वाड्रेटिक फॉर्मूला यूज कर सकते हैं. जिससे हमें रूट्स की वैल्यू मिल जाएगी एंड वी कैन अप्लाई दैट. क्लियर? एनी प्रॉब्लम्स?
सर विद h और k कहाँ होता है?
h और k हमें कंप्लीटिंग द स्क्वायर फॉर्म से भी मिल सकता है और हमें फॉर्मूला से भी मिल सकता है. वी नो दैट h इज माइनस b ओवर 2a. So we can either use that minus 10 over 2 times 5, which will give us 1. Or we can look at the completed square form that this number is h and this number is k. Because remember, form is ax minus h whole square plus k.
सर आप एज की हमेशा वैल्यू चेंज करते हैं ना, सॉरी साइन चेंज करते हैं ना.
देखो, this number whatever it is minus h. तो यहाँ पे -1 था, तो minus -1 क्या होगा? +1
या
है ना? तो उसका साइन चेंज हो जाएगा. यस.
सर मैंने पूछा ग्राफ पे कहाँ प्लॉट करते हैं h और k? वो x पे?
Okay, x intersect the x value is h for the turning point and y value is k. The turning point is what vertex is or what hk is.
ओके.
Okay,
जो x की वैल्यूज है वो अभी तक हमें नहीं पता.
x roots की
रूट्स
value
है,
हमें नहीं
हाँ जो
पता.
रूट्स है.
Yes, that's
Okay.
true. But we can find that out using quadratic formula
या
or something. Okay. What should the student do here? Is there a
sir,
word? Yeah.
yeah sir, because it's a tangent, so we know it touches at one point.
Yes. So because it's a tangent, we know that b square minus
B
4ac
square minus 4ac
equal to
equals
0.
to 0.
Yeah, they turn at just 1 point. So we need to solve it simultaneously. So we put 5x squared minus 10x plus 2 equal to 3x minus k. And then we bring everything to one side because we want to talk about roots. If one side is not 0, we cannot talk about roots. So 5x squared minus 13x plus 2 plus k will be equal to 0. And now we know that this is tangent. So now we can apply b squared minus 4c. Remember, until one side is 0, we cannot talk about roots, which means we cannot use b squared minus 4ac. So remember this. This will help you. Sometimes students look at the question, they know that they have to talk about roots, but they don't understand where to apply it. So remember that if one side is 0, only then you can apply b squared minus 4ac or nature of roots or talk about anything about roots. So there you go. You just apply it and you will get equal to 0 and you will get a value. What should a student do in question number 4?
Quadratic equation?
Yes, it is quadratic equation.
No, put the a, b, and c in the quadratic formula.
Not quadratic formula because we want to find nature of roots. When you want to find nature of roots, you just use b square minus 4ac, the determinant. You don't need quadratic formula क्योंकि हमें actual value तो चाहिए ही नहीं है, हमें तो nature जानना है. If they are imaginary or if they're real and distinct and if they're real and equal. We'll leave question 5 for now because we haven't studied inequalities. And that's it. That's quadratics.
सर आपने बताया नहीं कि किसका करना है.
क्या?
वो determine the nature वाला.
Oh, you put b square minus 4ac equals to 0 and then you solve it. Sorry, b square minus 4ac. You plug in the values and then you get the answer. If the answer is negative, then you know the roots are imaginary. If the answer is 0, you know the roots are real but equal and it will just intersect at one point. And if the answer is positive, then you know it's going to intersect at 2 points. Roots are real and distinct.